Wild West. Gold, outlaws, and railroads. The untold legend of the American West. The American West did not rise quietly. It emerged from dust storms, gun smoke, ambition, and the relentless force of destiny. It was a frontier where dreams could be forged in an instant and destroyed just as quickly. Behind every myth lies a truth, and behind every legend lies a price. This is the deeper, darker story of the West, a land built by courage, greed, blood, and the will to survive against impossible odds. In the early 19th century, the West was spoken of in whispers, an endless wilderness filled with mystery. Travelers returned with stories of towering mountains, unforgiving deserts, and rivers that carved through untouched valleys. But the frontier was more than geography. It was possibility, a blank canvas for those desperate enough or brave enough to cross into the unknown. 1. The birth of gold, 1848. Our story begins in 1848 at Sutter's Mill in California. James Marshall spotted something glimmering beneath the water. A fragment of metal, small, bright, unmistakable, gold. With that discovery, the fate of a continent shifted. What followed was not a migration, it was an eruption. Ships were abandoned in San Francisco's harbor. Entire towns emptied in days. Farmers walked away from plows mid-furrow. Students left school, merchants shuttered shops, and families packed their lives into wagons heading west. They became the 49ers, a tidal wave of humanity drawn from every corner of the earth. Americans from the East Coast, Germans escaping turmoil, Chinese laborers fleeing famine, South Americans seeking prosperity, all converging on one point on the map. They traveled by ship, by horse, and many by foot. Their journey was long, treacherous, and often deadly. For every man who found gold, dozens perished from disease, exhaustion, robbery, or the unforgiving terrain. And yet they pushed forward. Because gold was not just wealth, it was hope. Hope that life could change overnight. Hope that the world could be rewritten. 2. The rise of boomtowns. California's boomtowns rose almost instantaneously. Wooden shacks, mining camps, saloons, gambling halls, and brothels appeared within weeks. Streets churned with mud, sweat, and ambition. Merchants shouted prices over the chaos. Gamblers slammed cards onto tables, and outcasts lurked in alley shadows looking for their chance. It was a world where fortunes were made at sunrise and lost by sundown. But beneath the gold fever lay danger. Disputes over claims turned violent. Alcohol-fueled fights ended in gunfire. Theft, exploitation, and betrayal were everyday realities. The promise of gold brought people together, but greed tore them apart. 3. The rise of outlaws. Where law is weak, the ruthless thrive, and the frontier, stretched thin and ungoverned, became the perfect breeding ground for outlaws whose names would echo across history. Jesse James, shaped by war and vengeance, turned robbery into a spectacle. Newspapers painted him as a folk hero. His image fed the hunger for rebellion in a young, restless nation. But behind the myth was a violent man driven by pride and anger, not justice. Billy the Kid, barely more than a boy, wielded his gun with astonishing speed. He escaped jail multiple times, killed sheriff's deputies, and drifted through New Mexico's ranches like a shadow. His smile was legendary, but so was his brutality. The Dalton Gang attempted an unprecedented act, robbing 2 banks at once. Their confidence ended in disaster when armed townspeople opened fire. By the end of the day, the gang lay dead in the dust, their ambition extinguished in minutes. Butch Cassidy and the Wild Bunch refined crime into strategy. They planned robberies with military precision, disappearing into remote hideouts. Their infamous photograph, the Fort Worth Five, captured them in suits and bowler hats, smiling like mischievous kings of the frontier. Hollywood later turned these men into legends, but the truth is far simpler. Where they walked, families mourned, and communities lived in fear. 4. Manifest destiny, a national obsession. While gold fever spread, a powerful belief swept across America: manifest destiny. The idea that it was the nation's divine mission to expand from ocean to ocean. This belief justified expansion, no matter the cost. Settlers moved westward, laying claim to territories long inhabited by Native American tribes. Negotiations turned into conflicts. Conflicts turned into war. Disease and displacement devastated entire nations. The West was not an empty canvas. It was a homeland, taken through force and tragedy. 5. The Iron Revolution. Railroads. After gold came a force even stronger: iron. The Transcontinental Railroad promised to unite the nation in a way nothing else had. Thousands of Chinese laborers, working under horrific conditions, cut through mountains, carved tunnels, and laid track across blistering deserts. Avalanches buried camps. Explosions collapsed tunnels. But the work continued, driven by hunger, necessity, and hope. In 1869, the golden spike was hammered into place at Promontory Summit. The impossible had become reality. A journey that once took months could now be made in a matter of days. The railroad reshaped commerce, warfare, communication, and culture. It connected the East to the West and the past to the future. 6. Myth and truth. Over time, reality blurred into legend. Novels, traveling shows, and eventually movies painted the West as a world of noble cowboys and wicked villains. The sheriff became a symbol of justice. The outlaw became a charming rogue. The frontier became a place of freedom and romance. But life in the West was far harsher. Droughts wiped out farms. Winters froze entire families. Violence erupted without warning. Poverty was widespread, and survival was never guaranteed. And yet, despite everything, people continued to come, chasing dreams larger than life itself. 7. Conclusion. The heart of the frontier. Gold ignited the West. Outlaws haunted it. Railroads transformed it. Destiny expanded it. The Wild West was not just a place, it was a test of the human spirit, a reflection of everything we fear, desire, and strive for. It was a battleground between hope and hardship, ambition and morality. And that is why the legend endures, because the story of the West is the story of us all.